As we head towards Christmas and Boxing Day, Derby County look to get set for a fixture against West Bromwich Albion that kicks off at 5:30 on the 26th of December. Obviously, I extend a happiest Christmas to all of you and a happy holidays to those of you who don't celebrate Christmas. But this one is going to be a massive one for Derby County, and it's a really, really important one in the sense of not just our season, but also how we look heading into January and what we're going to do heading into that January period. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County content coming on the channel. And also make sure you check out my previous videos and the upcoming ones. There's a load of names that I've seen be bandied about heading towards the January transfer window. We're going to take a look into a few of them over this Christmas period, so make sure you're here to check it out. Now, as mentioned, Derby County host West Bromwich Albion this weekend, and for me, Derby County have a really good record when it comes to facing up against West Brom. You even go back as early as 2021 and 2022, where Derby County beat them 1-0 in both games. You then obviously go earlier on in 2021, Derby County going through their financial struggles, had a 17-year-old Dylan Williams playing at left back, and we drew 0-0 with them. And our previous defeat to them was back in 2020, and we've only lost to them twice over the course of the last 9 games. Derby County picking up 5 wins and 2 draws. Now, if we do go ahead and talk about the injury situation that Derby County have going on, we're obviously missing some big players in the likes of David Ozo, Erin Cashin and Ryan Niambi, but hopefully those players will be heading back into the forefront over the course of the next few weeks. We've obviously spoke a lot about David Ozo recently, and we have to go back to October, when we were told he'd be back after the international break, never came back. And for me, it feels a bit like David Ozo's injury is more mental than physical at this point, based on what Paul Warne is saying and discussing. We obviously then look at Erin Cashin, who's a big loss for Derby County at the moment. Massive central defender for Derby County. He starts the attacks, he ends attacks for the opposition, and he's just an unbelievable player who's got a really big future ahead of him. And looking at someone like McGuinness, who went to Luton Town, Erin Cashin is got to be well worth that 15 to 20 million pounds now with his contract length and the performances he's put in so far. Obviously, Ryan Niambi looks as if he's going to be heading back sooner rather than later. Now, obviously, West Brom have injuries of their own. Daryl DK, a player who we all know as a injury doubt, he's always got an injury of some sort, but is a wonderful player when fit. They're also missing Semi Ajayi, a player who's been massive for them over the course of their last 5-ish years, maybe a little bit longer than that. Now, if we look at the form of the two sides, it sort of explains why both teams are in the position that they are in. Derby County, 3 losses, 1 draw and 1 win. 4-0 thrashing of Pompey, by the way, and they should have beaten Luton Town. We put in an excellent shift for 89 minutes, and then it just all crumbled beneath us. We was dismantled by 2 deflected efforts, and I spoke about that a few days ago in a video. Now, if we look at West Brom, 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss. The loss coming versus Watford, obviously a very difficult side. They've beaten the likes of Bristol City and Coventry, picking up draws against Preston North End and Sheffield United. Now, obviously, there's some big players to mention for West Bromwich Albion. If we look in their squad, they've got, obviously, Joe Wildsmith will be heading back to Pride Park Stadium for the first time since leaving in the summer. You've obviously got the likes of Mason Holgate sitting in their defensive unit. You've got to go into midfield, and you've got the likes of Alex Mowat, John Swift. You've got Jason Malumbi, a player who I noted a few weeks ago as a player who I think Derby County could potentially pick up over the next 12 months. You then go to the forward line, and we've got the likes of Jed Wallace, Josh Madger, Michael Johnson, Tom Fellows, and obviously another previous Derby County player in Lewis Dobbin. And obviously you've got the likes of Carlon Grant, who you cannot take away from what he's done in his career. Now, if we look at the players who we really need to watch out for, it's Josh Madger, it's Tom Fellows, and the likes of Alex Mowat and Carlon Grant. Some unbelievable performers in there for West Bromwich Albion. Madger, 12 goals and assists so far this season. Fellows, 9. Carlon Grant, 7. And the best player based on ratings is Alex Mowat. You've then got Palmer and Hagen. They're all above a 7.2. And they've had a really, really good season. And I think if we look at where they are in the league table, you look at West Bromwich Albion currently sitting 7th. equal on points with Middlesbrough for that 6th place, and they'll obviously be hoping that they can go into the new year in 6th position, or if not higher. You obviously look at recent form, and Sunderland have dropped off a little bit. Obviously they've still picked up good results, but they've gone from top of the table, now sitting in 4th with a 5-point gap. So you then have to obviously scroll down to 16th place to look at Derby County, and realistically, they were in a position where they could have been 11 points clear of the drop after their game versus Luton Town, but obviously we all know how that ended up, and now they find themselves, I think it's 7 points above the drop. I think Cardiff City are sitting on 18 and Derby County on 24, so for me, the home games are absolutely massive for Derby County, and they've really got to find a way to pick up, in my opinion, at least a point or two across the next 2 games, because obviously there's the Leeds United game which we're going to look ahead to as well in a few days. So it's one of those for me which is going to be really, really difficult. Now, if we're looking at Derby, the players who we really need to get fire in this upcoming game, Kenzo Holdmine, Jerry Yates, they're 2 players who in my opinion really need to be on it if Derby County are going to win. I think Kenzo has done so much good work on the ball, but ultimately doesn't have the rewards that he probably deserves in my opinion. Just 2 goals and 1 assist so far this season. In my opinion, he should have about 3 or 4 goals, 3 or 4 assists. He's just been unlucky with, especially with the assists, of players not being able to finish their dinner. And we saw that again at the weekend. Well, it wasn't even the weekend, it was on Friday night versus Luton Town, where Derby County missed an abundance of chances. Now, obviously, when we're looking at the squad for Derby County, the players in which West Brom certainly need to shut down is an Ebo Adams. If you stop him working, you can stop Derby County, and if you can stop Ebo Adams winning the ball back, getting on the ball and giving it to the likes of Kenzo or Ben Osborne, then I think any team has a good chance of beating us, which is in my opinion why I believe we need another set of midfielders who have the similar skill set to Ebo Adams. You obviously then look at the likes of Mendes Lang, who in my opinion hasn't been on it this season, but is still able to put up them assists, and a lot of them coming from set plays for Derby County, and that's something which the likes of West Brom need to stop. Derby County, they win their games from set plays, and as a Derby County fan, we have to be honest about that. Mendes Lang has created 32 chances. How many set pieces has he taken this season? And I think that will speak volumes based on what we've done. Now, obviously, in a defensive standpoint, West Brom have a upper hand on Derby County, with Derby County missing Aaron Cashin, but Nat Phillips and the likes of Sonny Bradley, Curtis Nelson, Craig Forsyth can all step into that centre-back role and do a wonderful job for Derby County. Now, obviously, when we look at goalkeepers, Vidal Zetterstrom's been absolutely unreal for Derby County so far this season. He's been an unbelievable signing, and for the price that we paid, I think nobody can complain at what we've got out of him so far. And I think if we go further and further forward throughout this season and he keeps performing to the level he's doing, I do think we may have a problem keeping our hands on him in the long-term future. But obviously, Derby County sort of need to keep him as long as they can, recoup as much money as possible and go from there. If we look at Derby County for corners, they've had 114 so far this season, but I think we're top of set-piece goals per game or set-piece goals this season, and that just talks volumes about what Derby County do as a team, and we're obviously going to see that heading into this game and heading into the Leeds game at home as well. And for me, we're going to get into a team prediction in just a second, but I think Derby County have got to do a lot for us to be able to move properly forward and be able to beat these teams. And I do think it starts with us coming out and attacking them. Now, if we look at the team that started versus obviously Luton Town, a back 5-5-3-2, with Zetterstrom in goal, a back 5 of Elder on the left, Wilson on the right, Bradley, Nelson and Phillips through the middle, a midfield 3 of Ebo Adams, Ben Osborne and Kenzo Holdmine, with a front 2 of Jerry Yates and Caden Jackson. Now, for me, I think over the next 2 games, I do think we're going to stay with the 5-3-2 system. Now, I'm not entirely sure if Ben Osborne will play. We obviously played... What day is it today? What day is it going to be? I think it will have been a week prior. I think Ben Osborne will be able to play. I think we'll keep the midfield 3. I think we'll keep the back 5 as well, if I'm completely honest. But if it was up to me, in the striker department, that is where I would make the change. Now, I would bring in Dejan Brown. But ultimately, what I think is going to happen, and I'll put it on screen so that you lot can see as well, what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to move to a 4-3-3. I think we're going to keep obviously, the back four, I think it'll be Zetterstrom, Elder at left, Nelson, Phillips through the middle, Wilson on the right, a midfield three of Osborne, Adams and Kenzo. And then I think the front three is going to be Mendes-Lang, Yates and Marcus Harness. Three players who... I don't think Mendes-Lang has hit the heights we anticipated he'd hit, but I think Harness has done really well in recent games. We all know the ability that Jerry Yates has, and this is something which I think we're going to see heading into this game. I think it's going to be that front three. Now, there is obviously an opportunity for Derby County to do this in a back three, which I'll put on screen as well for you, where they obviously put Wilson at right wing back, you put Elder at left wing back, you keep Sonny Bradley in, and then you go Kenzo and Adams or Kenzo and Osborne in the middle. And I do think that's also a possibility, and I think that would also incorporate Mendes-Lang or Caden Jackson to play as well. So there is a few opportunities for Derby County. I'm not sort of really set on a team prediction for this one, because I do think it's difficult to read what Paul Warne is going to do. Is he going to trust his squad, or is he going to want them to do other things for him? So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Let me know your thoughts as well in that comment section. Turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in my next video.